This is John Stirling with Stirling FX here for Fearcast. We are doing a product review and test of Amico Flexwax 120. Of course, we have prepped the space ahead of time. We put plastic on the floor. Sat here, I got my crock pot of hot Flexwax off to the side. Of course, hot is a relative term. We want to keep it cool enough to go on the skin without scorching the model. Flexwax is a low-temp casting wax that can be used for just about, well, casting anything. Casting people in this case, body casting, life casting. You can cast items with it, cell phones for props in movies, just anything you want to do. It is really a neat stuff. Like I said, it's a relatively low-temp melting wax, much like the paraffin hand casts that they do at fairs and stuff like that, or the paraffin foot baths that they use in spas. In this case, we are doing a face cast of the model, just as a test. Our lovely model Chanel, of course. Flexwax 120, you can get it on amico.com, or in this case, we will have a link up with amazon.com. Which you can actually get it at cheaper, I might say. It is great stuff. I sat here and dipped my hand straight in the crock pot 6 times to get the 6 layers. You need 6 good solid layers to get a cast with this stuff. Dip my hand in. Yes, it feels real. It feels just at that uncomfortable threshold when you put it in there. Not enough to burn. It didn't do any damage to me. And then once I got the 6 layers on my hand, you just pull it off and work it off. The good thing is, yes, it's flexible while warm, but flexible enough to pull your hand out. But once it hardens, it is hard. It's like a nice hard plastic. You get a nice solid hard negative mold. All the swirls in your fingers, all the pores in your face. We had prepped her ahead of time by putting Vaseline petroleum jelly on her eyes. I did not put near enough. At the end, we will have some issues with her eyelashes and eyebrows getting caught in it a little bit. I cannot stress enough, and I will say this again at the end, I cannot stress enough, put good liberal amounts on hair. There are other hair releases out there which you can use to cast beards and hair with, but I mean, I myself just recently shaved my head bald to be able to do a head cast. I still haven't done that yet, but we're going to do that later. Always check with your model ahead of time when doing head and face casts to make certain they are not claustrophobic. Whereas she's able to breathe freely there through the holes in the nose that I'm leaving, it's still, I mean, you are encased in this stuff, so you want to make certain that your model is not claustrophobic at all. Once you get this good solid negative cast done, what you would do is make a positive cast of it using plaster or something like that, or if you were just doing a life cast, I mean, with enough of this stuff, you could do a full bust cast, a full torso cast. I mean, whatever you needed to do, you can do life casting. And you can see there, I just touched her shoulder. Check with your model several times through the process. Make certain they're all right. Make certain that they're comfortable. Heck, you want to test this stuff on the arm first to make certain that they're used to how hot it will be. It will be a little warm, but it cools off just amazingly quick. I mean, almost as soon as it touches the skin, it's cooling off. Like I said, you can do body casting with this, which if you were doing body casting with this, what you do is take your plaster or acrylic and just do the positive cast straight out of the negative cast with Flexwax. If you're using it for special effects casting, you would go through the process of sitting here and make the make the positive cast of the face with plaster, then once you separate it, she's signaling something there, I don't remember what it was, But you would take that positive cast and then use clay to build up the prosthetic. There I'm testing the edges a little bit, just checking it out. It didn't feel solid enough. But you would take and build up the prosthetic in clay on that positive cast. Then you have to take another cast using concrete of that prosthetic clay that you have built up. Once that sets, you would pull the two apart, the positive and negative, work out all that clay, fill it with either foaming latex or silicone or whatever you want your prosthetic to be made out of. Put the positive back in there and let it set. Once that has cured, you pull the two apart and you have your prosthetic. It's that simple. However, later on we will be doing video tutorials on how to do prosthetics here on Fearcast, so watch for those upcoming. I'm putting on a few more coats. Like I said, you want a good solid 6 coats. I actually probably overdid it on her a little bit, but just remember, it's better to overdo it than to underdo it. You don't want that mask pulling apart on you at any point. It's still warm and it will warp a little bit, if you'll notice when I am pulling it off of her. That will be a little later on. Flexwax is a wonderful product. It is, like I said, it's high detail. You pick up as much detail as alginate. It is much cheaper than alginate. Well, actually, no, it's about the same cost-wise per pound, but the difference is Flexwax, afterwards, after I use this casting for whatever I want, I can melt down that Flexwax and use it again time after time, whereas once you use alginate, boom, that's it, it's done. Same thing with silicone, which is even more expensive. Once you use it, it's used for that. It has a dedicated purpose. Flexwax is about $30 for 2.5 pounds. You can get it for about $50 for 5 pounds. Me, I've gotten 5 pounds. I'm going to go ahead and get 5 pounds more so I can do the full body casting for future FX stuff. But yes, that's the cost savings for the small independent artist and the small independent filmmaker, is you can use it time and time again to cast the props and the masks and just the prosthetics and everything you need for your independent films. Here we are testing it again, and I am about to pull it off. You can see the sides as I'm working it off, and you can tell I have caught her hair in it a little bit. We got it out over the chin. It will be flexing just a little bit. We are carefully working around the edges to work this off, inch by inch. Like I said, I've got it caught in her hair, and you can see me working around and making certain all the hair's free, actually pulling some of the hair back out of the wax so we're not pulling it out of her scalp. Again, I reiterate, make certain the model is liberally coated in petroleum jelly or some other hair release product. Working away, this is delicate work here. You got to be careful. You got to make certain your model is comfortable and all right. I'm talking to her through this whole process, just very calmly, keeping her calm. Again, she's encased in this stuff, and she has been a trooper through the whole process. We did a hand cast of her earlier, and I barely used a quarter of a 2.5 pound block of this stuff to coat her face and do a hand cast. This stuff will, 2.5 pounds will go a long way, and like I said, that's $30. You can use it again and again. Yes, I'm doing 10 pounds, but then again, I'm a pretty serious FX guy. If it's worth doing, it's bloody well worth overdoing. As with anything with the FX, take it over the top, man. We are working that off of her face, just delicately working away. And if I would have used, well, there she's free. And she's happy. Here, we will show you how this came out. It actually, you can't see it on the film, but it came out very high detail. You can see all the pores. You can see the hairs. Yeah, you can even see one or two of the hairs actually in it. We didn't tear. I actually used Vaseline on her hair. I just didn't use enough. So only a few of the hairs got caught in the mask. You can see her pulling off one of the hairs up there. But this stuff is great, and there's the view. This is John Stirling with Stirling FX for Fearcast, signing off. May all your projects work wonderfully.